All right, good enough.
That's gotta have. Come on.
All right. So,
what standards are you holding me to?
Welcome to Artwork Play Podcast, a podcast for recovering liberals and exennial cusser Twitch streamers. We need to utter a retraction. It seems that the quote that we held forth on from Baudrillard, the excerpt from Ecclesiastes, is apocryphal. It's fake news, and we were taken in by Baudrillard.
Baudrillard, the godfather of fake news.
The godfather of fake news. But it's very apropos. Looking closer at his understanding of simulation, the reason that that simulation is a boogeyman for him is because simulation is kind of like a force that like represses chaos. It's a fake thing that represses chaos. So like Disney exists because as a justification for America, not the other way around. So the quote from Ecclesiastes becomes a justification for the text, his text.
That's awesome.
So continuing with simulation, I guess, we're going to look at SimCity today. That's going to be our playthrough. We wanted to begin talking a little bit about Ian Cheng. All three of us saw Ian Cheng together in Brooklyn 2 summers ago.
Yeah, totally. At the
MoMA PS1.
The Emissaries piece with the mini corgis.
Which is a simulation.
Which is a simulation. Do you want to talk a little bit about Ian Cheng?
Kat, you're the most qualified here because you have your MFA in art. Ben also has an MFA, but that's...
I have 0 MFAs.
They're what?
I have 0 MFAs. I have an
he
MA.
has the MA.
Oh, fuck. Okay, great. So...
I'm also the most qualified because I'm the grumpiest here.
I guess I thought that you did your degree in creative writing, Ben, but that's just now that I think about that fact, I find it quite funny. So,
I did do creative writing in my undergrad, but then I just focused on reading other people's creative writing.
Yeah. And then Kat. So Kat is the most qualified person here to talk about art. So yeah, Kat, what do you have to say about Ian Cheng? Can you describe him?
Yes, let me go back in my memory.
Entering the mind palace.
The works that we saw, there were simulations running in the gallery. Oh my gosh. I need to call a line. I call a friend.
Actually, I can talk a little. Can you take
this? I just forget. I'm just forgetting.
I have
this task falls to the second most qualified person here, Ben,
who does have an MA at least.
A master's.
I have a book.
Oh yeah, that'd be useful.
And he,
excellent.
I've knocked the.
The sign of a real academic is someone who's like brings a book to the conversation.
To a podcast.
So brings a book to a knife fight. So what is a live simulation? What is it called? Why is it called that? This is from Live Simulations, Ian Cheng's book. It's an interview. He says, the first question for me is, what is a simulation? Simulation is not a symbolization or a representation. Which I find that there's a contradiction in this, but he kind of speaks to that. It is a sandbox of reality's dynamic processes, or like Reality's Gym. John, do you have anything about sandboxes that you want to talk about?
Yeah, nice. Good segue. We were in
the Heater-Sterile
We went to the Heater-Sterile exhibit at the AGO right now, and it was like crazy. There's so much work there. It's like all pretty much so much of our stuff, which is so awesome. I can't wait to go again.
Expensive exhibit.
Yeah, it looks very expensive. And there was this one piece where it's her. It's two screens, a sandbox, and then a bench in front of the sandbox with video being projected onto the sandbox in addition to on the screens. Where on the screens it's Hito talking, telling her
her duty-free art essay, which later became, or was later put in a essay anthology.
Yeah,
the same name.
It's her delivering it as like a lecture, and then there's like, so basically the like visual content is being projected onto sand, and then I just like sat down at it and started like running my hands through the sandbox, because I'd seen these like projections onto sand AR exhibits at museums, like at like
it also didn't say don't touch
museums.
This.
Yeah,
like it looks, it's like there's a bench in front of a sandbox, and it looks like the exhibits you see at natural history museums.
Yeah, which is the coolest thing in the world, that AR.
Yeah.
It's like when there's a projection onto sand and a Kinect that is like looking at the sand and then like controlling the projections that are projecting onto the sand. So I thought it would do that.
Yeah, and I thought, oh wow, so smart. Like creating, how do you keep an engaged listener for like a rather lengthy lecture than putting a sandbox in front of them and then playing it as a video.
Something to engage the tactile side of your mind. And then the security guard came over and was like, what do you think you are doing? Like super serious. And then
But doesn't it defeat
away.
the purpose of having the Xbox rig set up anyway?
I don't think it
didn't
had
have
the
that.
Xbox.
It was just a projection. I just seen that in other situations.
And it didn't say don't touch this.
I literally walked by there with Og, and it was the essay, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna come back and I'm gonna play in the sandbox and do this properly later.
Yeah.
But I was like,
right, it looks like you're supposed to play.
I imagine some gallery attendant then must have meticulously set up the sand in a certain way, and then like,
well, I mean,
messed it up somehow, or maybe they just laid it the way it was, and then they're like, now it is a work of art.
The sand, there was
accident.
a bit of a pile in the top, like in the center, and there
it did look very evenly distributed.
But no, it also looks like someone had run their fingers through it.
Yes,
already.
yes. Oh, certainly. But I hope that wasn't Hito's decision, and that we contributed to ruining the art piece. But something tells me that wasn't. Seems like it'd be a great thing to run your hands through the sand. And yes, Will Wright, who made SimCity, talks about sandboxes a lot, and I think anyone who works in simulations it's a useful metaphor for their appeal.
Well, it's definitely kind of like a Silicon Valley type of jargon. Like I feel like, but and I feel like Cheng in particular. But I feel like both of these guys, and I mean Cheng himself, cites Will Wright as a precursor to his own work. And you, John, you were saying they use similar like needs-based AI.
Yeah.
To kind of like.
The simulations are basically in both the Sims and Ian Cheng's work are everything that happens comes of this emergent activity that occurs in this interaction between the environment and the agents, the artificially intelligent actors, and it's less the way I understand it is less sort of the agents actively seeking out things in their environment, but more so the environment controlling them in a way, or the environment sort of speaking to them. So it's a very interesting way of simulating intelligence and stuff. But yeah, they both use Ian Cheng, from what I understand. I emailed Ian Cheng once to ask him, it's like, how do you do what you do? And then assistant emailed me back and was like, we use this framework. The one that is, the needs-based thing, which I think was sort of at least they wrote a paper after creating The Sims that sort of explained it a little bit.
I think the big difference with Cheng then is that he like wants to impose narrative on it, and that's what we saw in Emissaries. There were like characters that were on a story track, and then there were other things that were totally emergent, like when they took the one villager to the edge of town and started pissing on her or whatever.
And yeah, when
did that happen? I forget.
Just to talk about the piece in the gallery itself, it's like this huge, beautiful screen.
Three screens. Yeah.
3 rooms, yeah.
3 rooms, 3 screens.
Sorry, was it a projection or a screen? It was a projection onto a canvas that was leaning on the wall.
I think it was just a wall.
It was just a wall.
Like a standalone wall that was then leaning onto another wall.
I see.
But yeah, beautiful.
Still my favorite sort of thing. Love to see that. projections on things that are leaning. That is, and
There are benches too.
It's like, to the average person, they would look at it and think of it as a movie or as a video, so something that loops probably. But the appeal of this piece is that it's a program that is running continuously, and like The Sims, watching these actors carry out these narratives that have emergent qualities to them, but then also have some authored quality, where Ian Cheng scripts in the eruption of a volcano at some point, I think. And then so part of the emissaries piece at the MoMA PS1 was that it was also streamed live onto the internet, because it was this sort of live thing. It has this performance quality to it in a way. But yeah, what how critical, or is there any critical bend in Cheng's work to the idea of simulation, do you think?
Well, let me finish this. I mean, I think that was a productive segue, but I'll finish what I was started here. I'll begin again. The first question for me, this is Cheng answering the question, what is a live simulation? Why is it called that? The first question for me is, what is a simulation? Simulation is not a symbolization or a representation. It is a sandbox of reality's dynamic processes, or like reality's gym. Writers simulate 1,000 forking worlds on the draft page. Boeing simulates new aerodynamic designs in a sub-zero wind hangar. Athletes simulate low oxygen conditions and new diets and training. We simulate with friends what to say to haters, what to say to lovers. It is a private game we devise when the aliveness of a situation is too complex to really know. It is a drafting reality through an ocean of forking behaviors to find an optimal end. What is a live simulation? It is playing the game in public and not letting it end when the game gets good. Darwin said the greatest live simulation is nature herself, who incessantly tries and fails aloud, never stopping at perfection. But nature is often too fast, too slow, too big, too small for us. We desire a live simulation at scale with human space-time, but unending in its variety, and blind to our barometers of quality. A live simulation that we can feel, but that does not give a fig for us. This name, live simulations, is vital for compressing these contradictions into one thing, one phrase for the mind to recall and use. I like that he calls out his own contradictions, because you can see the tension that's happening between those two different definitions, one of simulation and one of live simulation. But you can also see that he's doing something. So a lot of the criticism of Will Wright and The Sims seems relevant to thinking about Cheng's work. Yeah. So like the early cyberneticists, for instance, just decided that certain forms of human behavior were unknowable, and so they black boxed those behaviors. And then later research about cybernetics fails to kind of take into consideration that this black box was a kind of like
assumed.
Yeah. And it's the same thing that Curtis points out in The Trap, which we talked about in an earlier episode, where it's like game theory was like, okay, let's assume that humans will always be selfish, and let's devise an economy and a politics around that. And then what does that produce for us? I think the big difference with Cheng is that he's using systems as an art form, and there's like all these aesthetic and mysterious qualities that are distinct from The Sims and are distinct from when people actually try to do urban planning and planning with businesses using literally The Sims.
Well, I think that the inability of all the like people who are designing simulations is, or a shared inability that they all seem to have, including Cheng, I would say, is that there's not much consideration for their own assumptions and the sort of driving force of those assumptions to the simulation. For Cheng, I guess maybe it's the fact that he makes explicit that there is like his interventions into the story by adding these sort of scripted narrative elements to it, like the volcano exploding. Maybe that's acknowledging, oh, I also am a part of this simulation, but it's not. It's coming from a much more like formal and experimental angle than one that seems like actively critical of I don't know how his assumptions might be, or how the assumptions about the simulation might be like coloring the simulation itself, or forming the basis of the simulation itself. And then I just think that remains true with a lot of the like game theory ideas that inform the like CIA technocrats of the 60s going forward, as well as that there are assumptions baked into their system that are not thought about. And then that also informs the urban planning theory that goes into SimCity. There are assumptions that are not fully like thought about, and a lot of those assumptions to me just come from like non-materialist ways of thinking. Like there's some like idealism implanted in both those forms of assumption, or like lack of actual like assessment of the material reality.
Like in the case of like modern utopias, like modernist utopian city planning, there's like always the assumption that there will continue to be funding to maintain those spaces. And that's like where a lot of while they did produce these fantastic like buildings, I mean, fantastic in the sense that they're large and impressive, and that they could house many people affordably, but forgetting to think about the ways that changing politics
could change the funding structure that
they
were depending on.
People stop taking out the trash at Pruitt-Igoe for this sort of thing, or like this.
The government stop
taking out the trash. The people take out the trash
because of austerity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Yugoslavia is a good example too, where they have all this like crazy architecture, like these beautiful kind of like futurist buildings, and they just sit vacant and dormant. I was hearing about this community along the Adriatic or something like that, where it was like a vacation space for postal workers. If you're a postal worker, you just had summer rights to these vacation spots.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And then, the collapse of that state, and then they bulldozed them and they put in condos, literally. But sidetrack. I've been having these flashbacks recently to this series, this like HGTV-esque series of like people going in former Soviet countries, people going and like trying to rent out to like previously government supplied housing. And it was like, I do not know what the series is and I haven't been able to find it. But if anyone can point me at it, it was like some of the most beautiful sort of like footage of these gorgeous, these like, well, I mean, they're quite dilapidated at the time of shooting, but you could just really imagine what they had been like.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting microcosm of like the whole like of capitalism itself, like exploiting a new market.
And it was interesting because I think there was like a couple sort of digital nomads trying to like go and like live in like former Soviet spaces, and
what I was thinking in regards to like the assumptions. So the assumptions of modernist utopianist people designing the Pruitt-Igoe building. So Pruitt-Igoe it was a complex of towers in St. Louis that were designed by a modernist to be this sort of like new way of living that was theorized in the 20s and 30s, that was inspired by a lot of like socialism and sort of like planning, a certain sort of urban planning that was about building lots of towers with green space between them, and then the point you made, Kat, is that sort of whole design sort of posits it requires it's a superstructure that requires the base of a certain political economic organization that faltered in the 60s and then the 70s even more so with the sort of like turn to neoliberalism. And you see an interesting other set of assumptions come in the 60s, including the the sort of idea of white flight and the causes of that, and like urban blight and that sort of thing, and the idea that it was purely sort of racist resentment from this part of whites, although there was certainly a ton of racist resentment, but that it was some sort of idealist, like essentialist race reason for it to happen, when in reality there was
that
like
Pruitt-Igoe was not, or just like an unsuccessful project in that sense.
Yeah, Pruitt-Igoe, or just like the white flight and general, like of those sort of like ideologies that about urban planning in the 60s, that the ideas that sprang up around them were the ideas that go into this book, Urban Dynamics, by
Forrester.
Forrester, yeah. Thank you. Who came himself out of MIT, where also John Nash, the game theory beautiful mind guy, attended. Coming out of the Defense Department as well, Forrester. He started talking to the mayor of Boston at the time, who was himself a like conservative Democrat, and from Boston as well, so he's probably very conservative, about what the problems in the city were, and like what the causes of poverty were, basically, where the causes of poverty are that there isn't enough power to the market, and that the best thing you could do as a city planner is just decide what area homes might be built in, decide what area businesses might be built in, and then decide what area industry should be built in. And like that's the only thing that should be sort of done by the government, besides all the things that the government does to prop up business in so many ways. But
it's insane because this became like not only it does Wright pick this up and make it like sow these libertarian seeds into the Sim City, and then it becomes a popular part it becomes a part of popular culture. Nixon picks this up, and then interestingly, even in contemporary kind of like neoliberal discourse, this is like precisely the sort of urban planning that's pitted against like a Jane Jacobs style of like more organic urban development. So it kind of has like it's a type of discourse that you'll hear uttered alongside like, oh, well, we should like look at Hayekian economics. So it has that, it kind of like shares in that ideological camp somehow. So it has like far-reaching effects for something that is kind of marginal for most of us. But it's interesting because, go ahead.
It's also very contradictory. I was just thinking of it when you mentioned Jane Jacobs, how Jane Jacobs' city idea about planning is that it's much more organic than this method of planning, where the cities that she envisioned were the cities that were existing already in the like first half of the 20th century, where like all these all the aspects of daily life were woven together: work and play and social time and your home, all those things, sort of the stoop as being this public private place. The method of urban planning put forward by Forrester and then SimCity is much more like regulated and controlled, and like all the things that it's just another example of like neoliberalism, which purports to be libertarian to some degree, or like against regulation as it's sort of fundamental. It shows that no, it is fundamentally a form of just a program of regulation.
And it's easy to say this in retrospect. Like with Hayek, it's very easy to kind of like look at some of the things that he was claiming and to see that there are like on the surface of it, like inherent contradictions and flaws based on assessments of human nature. Forrester himself would talk about like the consistent failure of systems to account for human complexity. And so even though he was like busy selling his simulations to functioning businesses, and he thought they were like important when thinking about urban planning, he also said right up front that like his calculations were insufficient, and further any notion of systematization is going to fail, which I feel like is kind of like, if we connect this not only to utopias, but like to technocratic ways of dealing with policy making and statecraft generally, we see this all through the 20th century, where these grand attempts to systematize go belly up, or like produce chaos, and in the case of the West, have done nothing but produce a divide between the rich and the poor.
Yeah, I like Ian Cheng is like one of my favorite artists, because he's working in the like medium that I care about, and I like him, especially formally, a lot, but I feel like I can't see much engagement with this context in his work. Like I can't see much engagement with the figure of the simulator, who I think we see in pop culture more and more, or like we've seen I think examples of the simulator from the past.
Black Mirror.
Not Black Mirror, no. Anthony Hopkins' character on Westworld is one character who I think is like that, but also Will Wright, and then Forrester, from the writer of Urban Dynamics. They also sort of represent these like characters, these men who take on this like godlike sort of responsibility, or I don't know, attitude of the simulation. And maybe this brings it back to the Ecclesiastes quote, but Ian Cheng is working in that medium of being the man who is the simulator, but there's not much engagement with that aspect of it, at least from my reading of it.
He does talk about wanting to maintain, like he wants to strike a balance between chaos and order. And I think the emergent qualities are meant to represent the chaos. And then with Bob, which I think was a relatively more recent show in New York, which I didn't see, but which had this character where through a cell phone app, you could parent it. Like you could give him a mushroom and tell him,
nice,
mushrooms are poisonous, or you could tell him mushrooms are a gift. And then he would encounter things in different ways, and he would like continue to try to learn and adapt. And sometimes it led to Bob's death. I think it was like bag of beliefs was what Bob stood for. and so he wants chaos in the form of emergent qualities, and then order in terms of like, narrative, in this case given by parents, and then of course him as the simulator. There's like a provocative parallel in Baudrillard, who his whole disdain for the hyperreal, his whole disdain for this species of simulation, is that it suppresses chaos. And he thinks that any attempt to suppress chaos is only to like maintain a status quo in terms of mainstream media or the economy or a political system. Those hyperreal simulations are suppressing an existing chaotic order,
building a sort of entropy, maybe.
I think entropy is a way of thinking it. I don't know if either of them think of things in that way, but I think
it's unique to only I think of things in that way.
True.
They call me the entropy guy, actually.
Today, the playthrough we want to do is SimCity, as we've been talking. This is why all the Will Wright, and this is why all the talk of simulation. Do you want to? Did you get through your kind of introduction to that? Do we want to do our transition music now? I'm gonna do new transition music. I didn't like the last transition music.
Sick. I love it. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the transition music.
I can't figure out if the music is on in this game, because sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it just isn't music. But I also may have muted it. Aha.
So we're playing SimCity 2000. We're going to do that for about a half hour, which is anybody who's played SimCity will know that that's not enough time. John is apparently...
No, I can beat the game by then. It's fine.
Whoa, yeah.
Jonathan, you should put that on your lap for the reasons of the microphone.
I have a very clacky keyboard.
Yeah. It'll still come out in the
I'll type very
podcast.
softly. Can you hear
John's
this?
Verti's nice. So we're at the landing screen now. Cap, do you want to describe it aesthetically?
Yes, so you have a real like Windows 1995 look over here, where with the file or toolbar at the top has it's gray. There's like some scroll bars, and you have the toolbar at the top has some options that says file, speed, options, disasters, windows, and newspaper. You see another title underneath stating January 1900, new city, $20,000. Then underneath that is just a large map. Currently, it's kind of desert. There's a river running through it. You see some trees. There's a large toolbar of different sorts of things, like to the left. And Jonathan is also just choosing a name for said new city and selecting the difficulty level, the starting.
Spec City. You better go hard.
Spec.
The terrain kind of looks like Lego a little bit.
Absolutely. It's very it's pixel art. It's an isometric view of this land, of the terrain.
We should do the Greta Thunberg test to see if she knows what she's talking about. So go to 2050. And anyhow, there's not total climate disaster.
Nothing's
Forrester and Wright
changed.
has proved her wrong.
Crap. We're going to start. So we're starting 2050 with a 10K bond on hard.
What, is there
hard
inflation in this game?
No, I guess not.
Why
Because
wouldn't you
we're
start
building a
easy?
city with just 10K. Why don't we do easy?
I want to do hard because
Yeah.
I heard in the YouTube video that you sent me to prep for this, John, the guy was like, I started on hard and it immediately turned into Detroit.
Yeah, I feel like the hard game won't last as long, so that's better for us.
I think what he meant was there's like gentrifying artists coming and like, fucking up the downtown core.
Well, we will start the game owing a lot of money, so I think that's the situation that cities find them in.
Are you nervous, John? Are you getting nervous?
No, this is gonna be great. Okay, so
Is it 2050? Are we starting 2050?
okay, so hitting go again. The view of this game is beautiful. It's isometric perspective on this terrain. I used to print out my cities, and it would do that old school printer thing of printing one image on a whole bunch of different pieces of paper, and then I had scotch tape them all together to my wall. So this is we should do that in our apartment here with this.
Yes, we should.
Okay, so hitting done. And Spec City founded. You get this newspaper spins up and appears.
Extra.
And there's all these random headlines that get populated with it.
Transparent heart disease. How do you get a transparent heart?
That's an inside joke, I feel like.
Commentary, traffic, terrible. Bad train wreck only injures 31 people. Okay, and we go. So first thing we gotta
Johnny's
do.
looking at the toolbar.
Where are we going to put our city?
This looks like a lot like paint. Let's put it near the water.
Yeah,
Let's put it near the water.
In the
probably
valley, so you don't have to clear all that area.
all
then.
this area here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
Do you know if it flows up or down?
Doesn't matter.
So you would have to clear the topographical, or you just have to clear the trees?
No, you don't. The trees clear themselves, actually. Oh, I don't want to hear the music.
What do you mean? The music's wonderful.
Yeah, but we don't want to hear it through a microphone. Sorry, guys. Let me just change this.
I'll just cut this out.
Yeah, thanks.
What are you trying to do? You're just trying to cut the audio from the desktop?
Yeah, just so it's still recording, but we can't hear it.
Oh, so it's recording, but it's not played out loud?
Yeah.
What if you just mute it
No, because
on the speakers?
Oh, yeah, then it's still recording.
Yeah, it's just
Great.
not playing out.
Great.
Wait,
Okay.
but Ben, make sure you got that part because it's when I was solving the tech problem and the men were just sitting here useless.
Oh, no. While we were gone, it looks like a budget happened and we lost.
Are you serious?
$275, I guess, so far, just in fees, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let's pause this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Pause. Okay. So now we've paused. Okay, so are we starting again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've paused the game. Fix the sound. We've picked a place to build our city. It's by the water. And the first thing...
The first thing we're going to do is build really expensive waterfront condos.
Well, let's build a road that sort of goes like this way so that we can have
The Gardner Expressway?
I was just thinking we could have some buildings that face the water, like buildings could go here. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that, Ben?
Yeah, do it. I mean, I'm more interested in because you're nice at this, so I want to know what your strategy is. That will give insight. And then I'm also
So
curious.
Jonathan,
And then I'm also curious just about like the mechanics of the game, and because I've read so much about the ideology sewn into the mechanics, and I'm curious to see.
So
are you going to build asphalt all the way up to the
Nope.
edge?
No. Okay. So this is the first thing I'm doing is I built a road.
Yeah.
And now that I've built a road, I'm going to zone the land next to the road to be residential.
Okay.
I think up to 5 blocks away from the road can be zoned, and buildings will still build there. Like this still counts as they're facing. I think that's how it works. So
And what
right
does
now,
that increase the value?
That
I
it's
don't
next
know.
to the water or just that it's next to the road?
It's like access.
That
to
it's
the
next
road.
to the water was my question. Yeah.
Yeah, next to the water. In newer versions of this game, it definitely increases the value. I don't know if they had that happening yet, but like
Right.
aesthetically, it seems nice. So now I've placed it. I'm gonna unpause, put it on Lambda speed, and power plant needed. Okay, so now we gotta make our first big decision. What kind of power plant are we gonna build?
Jonathan's getting some pop-ups rather.
Okay, now we have a nice display of all the possible power plants, of which we could afford.
None.
We can afford the coal plant. We can afford a hydroelectric. No, I don't think we can afford hydroelectric. We can afford a wind power
Do some wind power.
Wait.
Why can't we afford
why can't-
hydroelectric?
because we have to build it across the. Yeah, okay. I guess we can afford hydroelectric. It's $400.
How many megawatts
We
do we
need-
need to generate?
I don't know,
Because it says 20 megawatts.
but 20 megawatts per unit, and we have to build them across the river, so
Okay.
it's 400 per.
Here we go.
You should
So-
go to out to that where it's like farthest, where the
Yeah, zoom out
different
again.
squares are farthest out.
Because there's not that. Yeah.
So we're deciding on a place to put our hydroelectric dam. Right? Is that what you guys want?
Yes, let's put
That's
it
what I
across.
Should we dam the river by our apartments?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, what will that actually
No,
dam
let's
the
let's
river?
have like let's like try and do our own utopia and try and like be like, you know, zero footprint as much as possible. Let's see if
So-
we can play the game that way.
So wind.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Wind.
We're losing money.
Yeah, we're losing money.
We should pause. Oh, fuck, the year end already.
No, we
And
just
we've
lost
just
another
lost so
$300
much money.
on road fees.
That's okay.
'cause we
Like
had a
if you look
small-
at like I don't think that Spotify has turned a profit yet.
This has automatically put us in like austerity mindset too. Of like, no, we can't spend any money. Okay, get some. I'll build. All we need is just one windmill for now, right?
Yeah.
Don't need more
Well,
than that.
nobody lives here yet.
Build
then we
a
gotta-
house for Kat and me.
Yeah.
Yeah, working on it. Okay, so I'm gonna build some power lines down from our windmill into the residential zoning, and then I'm gonna make like a little T with the roads, and then one side
Are you
of
making
the
a
T.
suburb?
No. So we have residential on one on the upper part of the T,
Uh-huh.
and then one side of the T I'm going to zone industrial. Can you see in this little graph right here, RCI?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 different types of zonings you can do: residential, commercial, and industrial. And right now it shows you which one is desired, and it's industrial.
You need a lot of industrial, yeah. But nobody's built any houses
built
yet.
anything there yet.
So
You have to, right?
No. Yeah, it's a simulation. You wait for them to build themselves.
How wild.
If you build it, they should.
So the older one.
Look, we have our first building.
It's an industrial building because land must be fairly cheap. Oh, the city. Wait, the city. We're already paying expenses. Okay.
So
go ask that factory owner for a donation for your political campaign.
Yeah.
What if we? No, I think we have to lower property taxes.
No, higher taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, higher tax, but no one's
What's
gonna move
the
towards
game lady icon? Is that part of the game?
Where what?
The cursor is now like a little bidet.
Yes.
Oh
my God,
wow.
it is. I've always thought. I
He's
think when I was a kid,
his cat.
I thought it was someone holding a gavel, but no, I realize now it's a milady man, a doth milady.
Yeah.
So we should.
Okay, underfund the police department. Underfund the police department.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, wow. Health and welfare, 100%. But can we just pause while we make some important decisions?
It's being paused now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so police department at 50%. Fund, bring the police. Our transit authority. Okay, that's our roads that we're paying for. Oh, Ben. Are you back, Ben? I lost you for a minute.
Yeah.
We're not
underfund
spending
the
on
police,
anybody.
keep the fire, and then bring the property taxes up.
We're not making any money off property taxes at all. I think we have to wait till people move into our
Okay,
city.
okay.
Taxes up.
We have to trick them.
Oh, we're losing money because we're paying money back on our bond.
Yeah, that's all. So that's why I'm saying we gotta pause. Oh, but in that meantime, we have a second industrial property. Whoa!
Can
And
you build
I think something's
railroads?
happening with. I think they're losing power there.
Oh yeah, we need more windmills.
Yeah. Now that we have, there's so many people. They're really sucking you dry.
Yeah, nice. Okay, one windmill at a time. Okay, so we're still because you have no police or firefighters. The National Guard. No,
What?
wait, why? Oh, there's a tornado. So a pop-up just came up that said, because you have no police or firefighters, the National Guard have just been deployed to your city, and it's because there's a tornado happening.
I wonder, it's kind of far. It's in
Yeah,
the
I
other
think we're
corner
fine.
of the map. Oh, fuck. No, never mind. If it travels up the river, we're fucked, but.
That looks like what it's going to do. So that's it. This is like directly to Kat's point about utopia, how utopias often assume something external to themselves. Like, especially like the kind of like proliferation of utopias that happened in the United States in the 20th century.
We
The
dropped
proliferation of what?
Kind of like utopic projects in the United States during the 20th century.
Hey, wait, we lost you for like the
at
past.
proliferation.
You said proliferation, then we lost. Oh no. Our city is too good. Oh, he's frozen here too.
Do you think his internet just gave up for a sec?
No, I'm on the phone.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. You did also freeze in our recording.
Are you back,
Right.
Ben?
I haven't been gone.
Oh, it disconnected. You cut out at proliferation and then it stopped.
My video stopped.
No, your audio stopped. I haven't heard you.
Oh, I just stopped talking because you guys said you couldn't hear me.
Oh.
I was just saying that in the a lot of the utopias that have happened in the United States during the 20th century, they themselves often presumed an outside whence materials would come. Okay, now my video's cutting.
Oh, but you're sounding very clear. And we're getting our first residential units.
Hell yeah. So they would presume an outside whence materials would come, like an external economy to support them. Mm-hmm. When H.G. Wells was thinking about utopias, he already was beginning to think in terms of global utopias. He said, like, you can't have a utopia in one part of the world unless there's also utopia happening in Africa.
Yes, yes, that's the good socialist line.
Yeah.
But now it's time to raise our property taxes because we have.
As good socialists.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have some people living. So obviously.
Well, it does estimate 2055 estimate. What does that mean?
That's how much they project for next year.
So they want us to raise it to 28%?
No, that's if we do raise it, that's how much it'll. No, sorry, that's how much money we'll make. Right now we're making $10 a year on property taxes. We are losing $300
From our bond payments.
And we can, if we raise property taxes to 9%, we can make $28 next year.
What about like 12?
Okay, yeah, let's do it. We're bringing up property taxes to 12.
My lady.
Let's see what happens. I doff my cap.
Well, we don't have any.
Okay, let's
The National Guard's already deployed.
Hilariously, we have no services to offer for our large property taxes. It looks like a church has been founded. I'm going to build a school.
Huge church. A crane is building up something there. That's quite beautiful.
We need more. Our wind power is inadequate. It's not really doing a great job.
So nuclear is also environmental, according to Naomi Klein.
Yeah, but we don't have enough money for nuclear.
Okay.
Are we just like, we're just lacking power? Is it because we have too many windmills close together? Or we just don't have enough windmills?
I think they're just not generating enough power. So we have our first derelict building.
Whoa, where? Where did it happen?
This thing right here.
Oh, abandoned building. Why is it abandoned?
Probably because it didn't have power.
Oh, yeah. None of that is power, does it? Shit. They're going to keep abandoning them.
So this is our capitalist crisis moment.
Yeah.
This is the capital flight from our cities, which is the real reason. That's like one of the bigger reasons behind white flight in the 60s. It's just like capital flight from the cities as well as a reaction to the Keynesianism
and the incentive to buy your own homes by government subsidies.
Yeah, subsidizing the suburbs. Okay,
so
hydroelectric. Yeah, hydroelectric is our only hope.
There, right? Across there is the shortest way. Oh, waterfall. We don't have waterfalls. Oh, shit. We should have been looking for a waterfall to start our city.
Okay,
Can't we just keep going with wind?
Oh, a solar power plant. We can afford that.
Brilliant. Yeah. Put it in the middle of the city.
I'll put it by the industrial zone. There we go.
That's smart.
Now you'll have some power, you motherfucker. Sorry.
Hey, no swearing on this family-friendly podcast.
I was just calling the business owners that, so you.
That's excusable.
Okay, so we're back in business. Oh
wow, everybody's got power.
Nice. We're starting to make some money. People don't seem to be running away to our property taxes.
So we should raise them a little. 15%. That's only.
I think we should provide some services before we raise taxes more.
But we are. We're not.
Now you're just being an oligarch.
Oopsie. Education, we're losing money on that.
Because of our school. We're spending money.
Good.
We're not losing money, we're spending money on education.
Should we do a fire department?
Yeah, totally. Because when disaster strikes, you want to be prepared.
And not with the freaking military.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad news. Okay, now we should build a park.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's looking awfully crowded.
Small park, big park.
You should have built the park next to the school.
Or what if I built it on this side of the street? So I'll demolish
Can you demolish the derelict buildings? There's 2 there, isn't there?
Yeah,
what are those buildings that just came up in the...
Oh, they're all derelict. Let me just demolish all these derelict buildings.
And build parks.
And then I'll demolish this building too.
There's really no demand for industrial. Do we have a commercial sector yet?
No, not at all.
Because they're asking for it. Oh, I think you demolished the power lines. Shouldn't you pause when you're doing this?
Hilariously, you have to, after you demolish buildings, you have to clean up things. With a little bulldozer, you have to click around and clean it up.
$1 a square.
So famously, this game, Will Wright was working on a helicopter combat game called Raid on Bungling Bay. And this game, building a big park.
I think that park is too big.
Yeah, it's possibly too big. Okay, building a smaller park. 4 small parks next to each other. It's because it disconnected it from the solar power plant. That's why it's frozen. So Will Wright was making a helicopter game, and then he created a level editor for the helicopter game that he put too much work into, and it turned into this we have new buildings. The helicopter level editor basically turned into SimCity.
Well, he just enjoyed it so much more. He said that he enjoyed playing around and he uses the language of sandbox, and he enjoyed playing in it more than blowing things up. And then he kind of thought that SimCity would be the answer to that.
And Will Wright refers to himself as like a toy maker.
Yeah.
Is that a burger
Well,
chain
no,
that
I
just
don't think
popped
it's him.
up?
I think it's Maxis that says that.
I see.
But they
the
talk.
company.
They say that they're making software toys as
those
opposed to
abandoned houses.
video games.
Whereas like a toy, a game is like, oh shit!
Oh, you just
I accidentally demolished an apartment building.
Dang.
While people were living in it.
That's like some Grenfell Towers shit. I have to clean
Be
up.
very
the mess
careful.
I made. Oh, I just demolished a road.
Fuck.
Too. So
Wow,
I like how the mayor is just riding this like excavator around town and just like smashing crap.
Quick, get power back to houses before people leave. Get power back to the ones people are living in before they leave.
Okay.
The Cheng draws a distinction between finite games and infinite games, and I think that I think you can also trace a through line there from SimCity to Cheng's live simulations, where this game does have it doesn't have the. I mean, in a neoliberal sense, there's still like a competitive quality to this. There's disaster, there's failure, there's but it is emergent. I mean, John, you've played it for quite some time. Like, to what extent do you become familiar with the scenarios?
And when I was a child, like before, I didn't know how the game part worked, but I just would build cities and use the cheat code to get more money, so I could build like just as it was a pure like a toy thing, sort of. I think probably when I was a kid.
You
Right.
have only one road going to and from your industrial zone. Will traffic get bad?
I should probably I could build something like this, a little loop-de-loop.
Yeah.
That's sort of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
And then something that connects it there.
Yeah.
Because I remember they brought I played the original one in school, and it was it was one of the games we were allowed playing, like along with Carmen Sandiego and Oregon Trail.
You're dating yourself.
That's fine.
You're speed dating yourself.
Whoa.
Great. Still not spending any money on cops. Let's bring.
We win the game if that.
Matt, if you won the game by abolishing prisons. I'm bringing property taxes up. Yes, Ben.
One of the games we thought we were going to play instead of this was Democracy 3, which is a sim-based game as well. One of the things that I find fascinating about these sim games is the attempt to quantify everything. And so like a voter is made up of 21 different conditionals in the Democracy 3 game, and like including things like cynicism and what's the other some quotient of disaffection as well.
Oh, like apathy? The apathy?
Yeah. Which is funny because I mean it's a very, just as the sim model is very situated ideologically, so too is that game situated in a kind of like post-Blair Clinton universe where it's like, oh, even the liberals are capitalists. Fuck.
Absolutely. And it also goes back to Baudrillard's whole critique of the simulation being this reduction of complexity.
Or a suppression of complexity.
Yeah, right. And it's funny that it goes with when Forrester talks about complexity and urban dynamics, he talks about how people sort of can't handle complexity. And that's the argument for technocracy in general, right? Is that you need
totally vote for me and
class.
then vote for me and then you don't have to think about me anymore.
Kat says we're losing.
I'm the only one paying attention to the game, and there's actually a hurricane warning going on right now, and nobody and they're demanding, the citizens are demanding a police station.
You're like the yellow vests, Kat. Like me and John are just like, well, they can't use gas anymore, and you're like, all I care about is the end of the month.
It's true. We're like losing very much.
So yeah, well.
How come we had to pay less bonds last year?
No, this is just this year so far. We've paid $50.
The budgets are always a projection. When you're looking at the budgets, it's like, what will happen?
Yeah. Okay, so we should raise taxes, right?
Yeah.
Because we have plenty of people living here, so bring up taxes to 16%. What are property taxes? How much is property tax?
I think it depends on your location in the city, et cetera, et cetera.
That's not a thing that you can change here, hilariously. Okay.
Well, it's like what I was saying earlier about like the degrees of complexity and the attempt to quantify everything. Like you can see how this, as a pervasive model, leads to like algorithmic thinking. Like this is, and it's like if Shoshana Zuboff is talking about like surveillance capitalism and how like a search engine kind of is the precursor to surveillance capitalism, you can see how this is like a precursor to I guess it evolves out of cybernetic theory, but you can see how it's a precursor to algorithmic techno solutions.
Can you run your power lines through the or over the road so that when you demolish things you don't lose power to places?
I don't know if you run them on next to each other on the roads. Oh, people are moving out because taxes are too expensive.
Whoa, where did it say that?
I just like a bunch of buildings have gone abandoned since we raised taxes. Should we bring taxes down? Let's 50.
I mean, it is what you say. It's like what are we doing to offer them health and welfare?
Yeah, do we have we have one hospital, one school.
Can we get some after school programs going?
We get a library. We don't have a library. Start a library.
So far away from the school? Yeah. Wait, put a park in between. Put a park in between the hospital and the library. No, you don't have enough space. You make a big park. It needs 4 squares.
Okay, so I'll make a big park
park first.
Whoa.
Okay,
perfect fusion power.
Chile guerrillas shell enemy base. Whoa. This is like another one of our newspapers.
Yeah, topical.
Welfare struggle.
What does it mean by that? Oh, I can read it.
Can read.
Naughty lines at SpekCity's welfare office stretched residents' patience yesterday, leading to a rumble. I think these are written partly Mad Lib style. Starring in the episode were a disc jockey, a neighbor, and several underwriters. The struggle ignited when a disc jockey was accused of cutting in line. Verbal pollution then fouled the air, irritating a sweet son.
A sweet son, not my
With
son.
all eyes on the show, a humongous czar tried to intervene, only causing further trouble.
Well, clearly the problem is that the czar is cutting into the welfare.
Yeah, that's pretty.
You can see why the CIA was interested in this. They have like the Chile reference there.
It's a secret nod.
This is post Pinochet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd say so. We're in 2050.
So remember, you're creating a big park by the hospital.
Okay.
Stay on task. Oh, it needs 9 squares.
There
Okay, there you go. Now it's gorgeous.
And
now
build
let's put
a library next to it. Oh man, we have $900 left.
And there's no power going to that library.
Oh my god.
And there's so many abandoned houses.
Oh, it's not looking good for old SpekCity. Okay, I'm gonna clean up the abandoned houses by demolishing them. You know, got to get the broken windows.
Broken window theory.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you just demolished something that was good.
Yeah, that's broken windows for you. Sometimes you break a few windows. So, okay, yeah, another budget, another year, another bunch of money loss. And the sort of appeal of this game is also that you just your city keeps growing, and I think Will Wright also talks about it as like gardening in a way.
Yeah.
But
I can see that. It is I could see how it would quickly become engaging in that way.
Yeah, you're sort of pruning things all the time.
But you'd really want to follow like, if it imposes this kind of like, the implied order, you do want to follow it. You're just like, okay, put the taxes down.
Yeah, these are the rules. This is how you win the game. I do not think there's much we can do to save our poor city.
Can we put in a casino?
No, that's a good idea.
That's great. We can put in a stadium. Nope, it's too expensive. Okay, we can take a little loan to put in a stadium.
Yeah.
Do we have a sports team?
We will once we build a
The
stadium.
Nationals. They're gonna boo John.
I'm gonna pull up into their stadium on a bulldozer. I'm the mayor that like rides a Zamboni around town.
Oh, you've got like $100.
I have $170. It's about how much money I have in reality, so it's pretty accurate.
We're also asking for a loan.
How do I get, if I press help, can I get some
Help? If you press help, can you get money?
I just want
That's how the bank website works, I think.
there's some way to take out more loans in this, but I can't remember how. I guess because I already have a loan, I can't take out more loans. This isn't realistic. I bet a mayor could get a loan. Mm-hmm. Come on, I'm the mayor. So it doesn't look like we are long for this world. I can't remember what the lose state is. Like,
demolish those
big
big buildings over there.
Oh yeah, the big.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
this
getting in the way
became
of future development and that whole like line of houses that are unoccupied. Sorry, what's the loose state? You just blew up a whole house. You're not
reckless.
even trying. You're not even
John's
trying
reckless.
to avoid. That was like a four square of
least-
people living there.
At least
And
we still have this church here.
don't even click near that.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna bring taxes.
Is there
way-
not like a Command Z or something?
No, come on, Ben. This game was made in 1991. I'll bring taxes down. No taxes.
Do not go to 0. That you were still getting investment at like 7.
Okay, so up to 7.
And just spend the rest of your money. Turn your perspective around so that you can stop like killing people.
I'm not killing people now.
Well, where are they living now? You just
No, that building went abandoned.
Sure.
That wasn't me destroying it. Okay, now
We're
we
in
have
the red.
minus money. Oh, and I can't.
and you can't do anything.
No longer demolish anything or build anything.
Fuck! You can't put any power in.
So now it is like a really like post-apocalypse.
Okay, accelerate it and see what happens.
Okay, cheetah.
Anyway, you gonna come in
And zoom in.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
see
Hey,
if
we're
you
getting
see-
some investments. Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
businesses flooding
Business.
back into town.
We're still in the red. Now we're more in the red.
We're still much more in the red.
Can we raise taxes a little bit?
Does that really make enough difference to
No.
even make it
Not
worth
at
it?
this, like right now at this scale.
It does double our income.
What's another way for a city to generate income? Can we try and get a bid for the Olympics?
Well, we don't have a stadium, remember?
I think
No, we
literally-
would build that if we got the Olympics.
That's true.
I think we
Hey,
the cities just
yeah,
take
we're
money
still-
from developers, and that's how they make not in tax. Like they should take it from developers through taxes, but for the most part, it's just like in deals or whatever, like whatever Trump does.
Let's just keep, let's see if it keeps going. If people start at, they're building up the space so that the power will go through. Oh, things are getting bad again. Things are getting abandoned and nobody's there to clean it up. Oh, but people will occupy the abandoned homes and make them unabandoned.
Yes, they transform sometimes.
Oh. We haven't made any money yet.
No, we're at minus $2,000.
And it's been 18 years since the city was founded. We just keep getting more and more into debt at this point. But there is growth.
So I think
the city.
What this shows is that all the people from my small town are right, which is that if you put the NDP in power, they would just run the government into the ground.
Yeah, like
we can't even click anymore.
You see, you got to run the government's budget as you would a family's, and
That's true.
The head of the household is a sacred position, but it's also a position that comes with a lot of responsibility to think prudently about your decisions and not just spend willy-nilly because, I mean, everyone wants nice things, but if you always had nice things, then maybe...
Do you know when they're nice? You don't even know when
you
they're
don't even
nice.
know when they're nice. If it was Christmas every day, you wouldn't even appreciate it. And that's what socialists don't understand. Well, we're gonna have to fold this city.
Wait,
just let it run.
Keep cheating. Yeah, we can just.
Well, I guess.
But we should wrap up anyway.
This is the beauty of the simulation.
Jonathan had a couple of lines to use. Some jokes.
John, let's hear your joke.
That I haven't used yet? No, I'm pretty sure. I'll look at my notes here. Yeah, use that one.
You've wrung out all the good juice.
This one, yeah, use this one. Yeah, use this one too.
No, what about logic and reason?
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't talk about that article at all.
Well, one of all of our good takes on the book that inspired SimCity are just from a great article in Logic magazine. Yeah, that's what.
Oh wow! Look,
well, business is booming in Spek City now, and one of the things that's funny in that article, which is the joke that Ben is talking about, is that they quote the magazine Reason, which was a libertarian magazine from the '60s, and Logic is a sort of socialist magazine from the contemporary times. So it's been funny.
They're both also digital audio workstations. I actually work in Logic, so it's
that's what that's the MA. That's the master's degree. He's a master logician.
No. So we were doing something in Halifax and we couldn't do a podcast then, and now Johnny Cat are in Regina and it's snowing there, so we couldn't do a podcast then. But we're gonna be more regular with this. Do you guys have any plugs?
This is the first of many podcasts you'll be listening to.
Man, you're going to be swimming in content coming soon here.
Only plugs is the thing that we're doing in Halifax will soon be available to view on your personal mobile device through Rhizomes.
My personal? Nice.
Anyone's personal mobile device through Rhizomes / New Museum's VR app.
Yeah,
what's it called? New Museum?
Yeah, I
think it is just New Museum.
Yeah, I can't remember what their app is called, but yeah, it's Tough Guy Mountain's Intern Purgatory VR experience.
Woot.
And that we don't actually have a release date yet, but this sounds like it's going to be mighty soon.
And then there's still spaces available at the Brandscape, though they're beginning to be occupied. But we have a range of studio spaces available.
It's perfect perfect for the wintertime as well, because
warm.
The Brandscape is sort of like this warm, cozy cave with a bunch of artists in it. It's like an art cave.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's recently been cleaned very thoroughly.
Very clean art cave.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Well, we're still we've almost reached minus $6,000 in our treasury.
Well, we might as well just lower taxes so people move back.
Oh, are they moving out? Okay.
I know. Oh, maybe because we're in debt, we're not paying for services anymore.
Oh, fuck. No, we still are. How else are we getting more and more in debt?
True.
Which is, oh, wow. Oh, never mind. Okay. So, like, it's going through, because we're on cheetah mode, it's going through these really...
Changes just happen really fast.
Really rapid speeds. Wow, it's, yeah. The
I'm
development.
seeing now that Kat is like the Doug Ford to your Rob Ford, John.
In what respect?
That you're out here making the moves, but she's in the background,
I'm the guy who's driving the bulldozer.
Yeah, exactly. Drunkenly driving the bulldozer.
What a beautiful sight.
Wait,
Okay.
I'm Doug Ford? I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the evil mastermind. Awesome.
And we'll end with that.
Hey, you guys, we're talking about our future prime minister here, so...
Yeah, he's the only person. No, it's going to be Peter MacKay next time, which is just as bad. Peter MacKay, Yeah. Anyway.
This is why we skipped our Democracy 3 episode. Too depressing. Yeah, well, we just got our first really large residential building back. Second, actually. It was just off screen. And we're still going into the red, but that's all on artwork play.
In the red.
In the red.
Bye.
Bye.